For today's lesson, our focus standard will continue to be from Grade 8 Expressions and Equations, Standard C, Analyze and Solve Linear Equations. Our topic today comes from Simplifying and Solving Equations, and today we're going to have more practice simplifying and comparing expressions. Our central question today is, how do we use the steps to simplify expressions to compare their values? Please take a moment, pausing the video if you need to make sure you have the entire header copied down. Be sure to include today's date, set up your question column and your note column, and resume the video when you're ready to begin. So these are 3 steps that we should be familiar with, and they are the steps that we use to simplify and compare expressions. I have added a little more vocabulary to this one, as it will help us as we move past using the tiles and working with expressions and equations in the traditional setting. So our first step is to simplify each expression. That requires us doing these 2 steps in this order. First, we want to flip all the tiles from the bottom region to the top, and we want to remove all 0 pairs. This, we should remember, is really a process of combining like terms. And of course, as we go along each time, we want to record each new simplified expression as we work through the problem. The second step is to balance each side. What we do to one side, we also have to do to the other. And at this phase, we're looking to remove identical tiles from each side. And then we record each new simplified expression. We continue to work through these steps until we can compare the values of the remaining tiles for each expression. Let's go ahead and get started on our first example. So today we're going to do 2 examples, and here's our first one. The directions are to simplify and compare the expressions below, and as I've recommended throughout this unit, it is nice to include a key, remembering that when we shade a tile in, we're using the positive form. When we leave it unshaded, we're using the negative form of that tile. So we want to first simplify and be able to compare this expression on the left mat and this expression on the right mat to answer the question, which is greater? So I want you to take a look at what's on this expression, each of these expression mats, and see if you can record the expression as it is represented on the mats. So I tend to start with what's in the top region, and I see 3 positive y's and a negative 4. So I started my expression with those terms, positive 3y minus 4. And then, down in the lower region, using a subtraction sign and a set of parentheses, I see a y plus 7. And that is how we would write the expression. Let's see if we agree on the right-hand side. So I see a positive 8 in the top, and in the lower region, a negative 2y and negative 3. So the expression is 8 minus the quantity, negative 2y minus 3. So using the steps that we just talked about, go ahead and continue on down, simplifying each side. What would you do first? If you said that you would flip all the tiles from the negative region into the top region, I would agree, and this is what it should look like. So you would still have the 3 positive y's, but now this y flipped into the top and became negative. We still have the negative 4, but then this group of 7 flipped up and became negative 7. What is this expression we have on the left? I'm still asking you to practice writing it exactly as we see it. Some of you might be tempted to move on to the next step and take away 0 pairs, but we're not there just yet. So we have the 3 positive y's and a negative y. We also have negative 11 units. So an expression we're looking for is 3y minus y, subtract 11. Let's do the same on the right. So we had the positive 8, and they stayed up there. And then we took these 2 negative y tiles and flipped them up. And we took these 3 negative unit tiles and flipped them up. And so our resulting expression is 2y plus 11. So now we're ready to combine like terms. You might be able to see how we can do that right here in this expression. We have 3y and we want to subtract a y. So if we do that, we want to show removing those 0 pairs on the expression map. So we circle those tiles and we draw an arrow to say that we would remove those. And we don't have any 0 pairs on the right. So let's continue on. What do we have now that we removed the 0 pair? On the left, we're left with 2y and still negative 11, and on the right, it didn't change. We have positive 2y plus 11. So now we're at that ready. We've simplified as far as we can go on both sides. Now we're ready to take a look and say, well, what do they have in common that I could get rid of? Because if I take the same thing from both sides, I'm still keeping the expressions balanced and therefore able to compare them. And on each side I see 2y, a positive 2y. So they're identical and they're equal. So it would still keep our expression balanced to remove those 2 tiles. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to remove those. But what do we have? I don't think we talked about what we already have, so we didn't. I apologize. So on the left we saw the 2y minus 11. And on the right, we had 2y plus 11, and we've decided that we can keep this expression balanced by removing these 2 positive y's from the left and from the right, because they're equal and identical. So on the left, we have negative 11, and on the right, we have positive 11. So now we're ready to compare the left expression to the right expression. And since negative 11 is less than 11, we'd fill that in here. And so we would say that negative 11, the expression on the left, is less than positive 11, the expression on the right. So the expression on the right is greater. Let's go ahead and take a look at our second example. So here are the 2 expressions, an expression on the left and an expression on the right, and I want you to go ahead and take this problem as far as you can. Following our example with the first problem here on the left, go ahead and see if you can write the expressions and then begin to simplify them. And when you get as far as you can, go ahead and resume the video, so pause the video to work and resume the video to check your work with mine. So to make sure we're starting off on the right track, the expression on the left should be written as negative x squared plus 2 minus the quantity x squared plus 6. The expression on the right should be written as negative 2x squared minus 5 minus the quantity negative 5. So go ahead and continue working using our 3 steps from above: simplify, balance, and compare, and then let's check back in. As we flip the tiles from the negative region into the top region, our match should begin to look like this, where we have on the left negative 2x squared plus 2 minus 6 on the left, and on the right we have negative 2x squared minus 5, all that was already there, plus 5, which flipped up from the top. So after we simplify each expression, the expression on the left is negative 2x squared minus 4, and the expression on the right is negative 2x squared. So now we're ready to begin looking for what are tiles that we can see on both sides that are equal in values, so that we can remove them to compare what's remaining. And what I see that we can compare, that we can take off, are these 2 negative x squared tiles. We have 2 of them on each mat. So it would be keep everything balanced to take those 2 off on each side, since they each have one. And what would be left is a negative 4 on the left expression negative 4 on the left expression, and 0 on the right expression. So how would those two values compare? Well, negative 4 is less than 0. So we would say that the right expression is greater. That's going to conclude our video, so please take a moment making sure that your notes are fully complete and come ready to practice more problems like these in class.